The Conquest 3D on-screen takeoff module. What are we going to cover in this session? We're going to cover the 3D on-screen takeoff module, which is an upgrade from the 2D on-screen takeoff module. In this module, we can look and measure at both 2D and 3D. So we're going to look at navigating around the model. We're going to look at using the layers, turning them on and off, and then measuring directly from a model. We can look at importing the data that we've done from a BIM template, or how we've created a model map and used the data from this. We're then going to look at using the DIMs within the estimating module. So here we have a typical BIM or 3D model. This actually came from Revit originally. We can zoom in and zoom out exactly as we can on the 2D version and move around. We can go to the layers, and then we can turn the layers on or off by either choosing from the categories down the left hand side, so for example the roofs, or we can point on the model to what we want to turn off. In this case I'm going to turn off the walls. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some example measuring. So we're actually going to measure the roofs. So I'm going to turn off a lot of the other stuff that I don't really need. Like so. We're then going to go back into the measuring, and we're going to go to the folder I've created for roofs. We're going to go and put it into point mode, and we're going to go around and actually measure each of the roofs by double clicking on them. Next we're going to measure the fascias. Measuring directly from a 3D model can be a little bit tricky. This is purely because it's 3D and it's not quite as easy to navigate around. Using the box in the top here can be very helpful. The next thing we want to measure are the soffits. We can't see the soffits, so we're going to go back to the layers. We're going to hide all the layers, but then we're going to turn on the roof soffits. We can now very easily pick up the entire roof soffits and measure them like so. The idea, however, of having a BIM model is that you shouldn't actually have to measure anything on the model. We should be able to extract all the quantities that we need directly from the model. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually import all of the data from the original Revit file. As you can see, it's importing the BIM dimension data. This is now going to list down the left hand side all of the folders or families that were originally created within the model. As we can see, there's quite a lot of data. If we were to check what we measured manually against what's contained in the BIM data, then we might see something unexpected. But we might also see that some of the data matches. So here we can see that we measured 495 meters in the roofs, and if we go to the folder that was imported, we can see that it matches, which is fantastic. When we manually measured the soffits, however, we measured 58 meters, whereas in the data that was imported it just says 1. So obviously, not depending on the software, but the quality of the data from the BIM models that you're working with is very important. If you're working with BIM models regularly, whether you have your own in-house design team or a third-party contractor design team, it's important that you try and create some rules about how the models are created. What we then learn on the Conquest BIM training is how we actually create model maps to extract that data in the same way every time. This is done using the tables below. We can then also look at comparing different models and drawings and revisions, and this is something that you'll go on to and learn about in your training. If we flick over to the estimating module, we can now open up the BIM demonstration within here, and it will give us all the information and all of the data and all of the DIMs that were contained in this module. In the same way that we did in the 2D, we can then just go through and we can actually populate the bill of quantities by double clicking on any quantity that we want. So if I go through now and we just look at this top item, we could take this quantity, and for the next item we could take this quantity, and for the next item we can take this quantity. And what we can do if we want, we can even drag quantities over into the dim pad like so.